If you came here to talk about Deshaun Watson getting booed after his injury, that ain't the place to go. We done already talked about that, and I think there's a much more important thesis statement that needs to be made, and a whole nother hypothesis that I got going that's more relevant, more prevalent, and more important than what's going on with that. Let's talk about it coming up next. This Game of Thrones has just started. Who's going to be left in the Game of Thrones? We'll explain next. It's G. Bush right here on the Ultimate Browns. Welcome to the fastest 30 minutes in all of sports. It's your boy G. Bush right here with the Ultimate Browns. I'm in the building. Of course, man, we want to salute everybody for dropping in on us and making Ultimate Browns one of the hottest shows on the internet. We appreciate you guys. We got a great show planned for you. We're going to start to get to what's next. The nuclear fallout has happened from Deshaun Watson's injury. Unfortunately, Deshaun Watson is out for the entire year with a torn Achilles heel. Thoughts and prayers go out to Deshaun Watson. Most of you people are pulling up thinking, man, G. Bush is going to give another dissertation about Deshaun Watson and people booing and are they right or wrong. Listen, I talked about that on a lot of different platforms and other platforms. If you want to go check that out, check out the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show from yesterday, or you can actually go to the barbershop and you can just search G. Bush and it will pull up and I'll give you the game recap and all that good stuff and my thoughts on the booing. But for here, I think it's important, and in the fourth thought of everything that I do, I try to push the conversation forward. I'm moving the conversation. If you guys want to talk about September and October, I'm trying to be in the fall and the spring. And it's time to start thinking forward as Cleveland Browns fans and people in the Cleveland Browns community, because this organization is going to be in flux. If you've listened to the show, I've told you, we go back and listen to the old stuff. If the Deshaun Watson experiment does not work, we're going to find out why the offense is bad. Does Kevin Stefanski have the locker room's ear? Are they going to continue to play and fight for him? Are they going to continue to play? And what quarterback's going to go play moving forward? Deshaun Watson is out. What about Jameis Winston? Is he a long-term bridge gap? What is he? Is he a guy that is going to be here for a year? Does DTR have any upside? We're going to talk about all of that. But before we can even get to that, we got to talk about the Game of Thrones, because when you're 1-6, somebody's going to fall on the sword. Somebody's going to fall on the sword, especially when you talk about Super Bowl aspirations. So in the third segment, I'm going to make the case for Kevin Stefanski. If at the end of the season, he's sitting there at the boardroom with Jimmy Haslam and he's looking around and say, Jimmy, this is the reason I need to be the head coach moving forward with a new quarterback, a new system, and having a say in which top-notch quarterback they're going to bring in, because I think the Cleveland Browns are in the tank mode. We'll talk about that a little bit as well. To tank or not to tank. That might be another story I might sprinkle in, but we'll get to it. Second segment, the case for Andrew Berry. Don't think that Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry are lockstep. It's either one or the other. I'm going to make the case why Andrew Berry, when he's at that boardroom table at the end of the year with Jimmy Haslam, saying, listen, I gave him the ingredients, but I don't know, man. Was Kev really coaching him up the way we really wanted him to? And he's going to put his resume on the table and say, this is why you should listen to me when we draft this new quarterback. But first, let's talk about what's next after the nuclear fallout, which is Deshaun Watson being injured for the year, fans booing. The fan base is divided. People are going back and forth on Twitter, going crazy. Guys is getting into it. They pulling out files and all kind of stuff. Cats is mudslinging.
This is a broken and fractured fan base, and it has been really since Baker.
Yep.
And I don't know how you. Like this fan base needs like a cleansing or a come together, come to Jesus type of moment here. And maybe they'll get that now. I think Deshaun's played his last snap. I know we're going to get to that as a topic later. I'll give away the ending. I think that's the last time you'll see him on the field. And given the reaction when he was on the field, if you're him, I don't know how you'd want to come back. So I think it's a multi-layered conversation as to why that's it for him here. And now they got to figure out what comes next. And that's not easy. Like, this is going to be ugly. It's messy and it's ugly and it hurts because of the cap hits that are coming. And you got to find a quarterback now. And what do you do with some of these other veterans? It's a mess. Like, this is a worst case scenario. And I wrote when they acquired him, this is either going to cleanse the Haslams of 10 years of just awful ownership, or it's going to be the tombstone in their legacy. And it's the tombstone.
If you've been watching the Ultimate Browns, you've been on par. And I've been speaking and kicking that for about 1.5 years now. I had blogs out multitude of times talking about what happens if this does not work. And I told you that if it does not work, now trust me, a lot of people don't listen to what I say. They just listen for what they want to hear. G. Bush, you were the one asking for 4,500 yards. G. Bush, you were the one saying the Kool-Aid Mafia. How are you going to be right with that, but right with this in the same time? I'm going to tell you how I was right both of the times. Once again, I don't understand where people in this country think that you can double down on something, and then when it's obviously not paying it out. What do you think? I'm stupid? You think I'm dumb? I'm not dense. I'm not going to lose credibility by being like Deshaun Watson is going to throw for 4,500. I've been on record for saying weeks ago that I would have sat him down. But here's what I also have been on record saying this. Don't worry about Deshaun Watson now. The way that the NFL works, it moves in lightning speed. It moves at the speed of light. You're playing one day, you're injured the next day, you're in surgery the next day, you're in rehab the next day, you look up 3 years later. The reality of the situation, boys and girls, Deshaun Watson will go to surgery. He'll be in the news, in the news for a couple of more days. 24, 48 hours. It'll get his clicks. It'll get his stuff right. It'll gain his interest, and people will get their clicks out of it. But the reality of it is football life goes on. There will be another game. There will be another opponent. There will be another test. There will be another evaluation. And that can either be good or bad for Cleveland Browns fans and the people that are there in the building now. For better or worse, the people that booed and did the angry mob, they yell and scream and pound the table because they want their pound of flesh and they want retribution. And Deshaun Watson is going to have surgery. He's going to move away and he's going to, get back to trying to play in football and figure out what's going on with the rest of his career. But for the angry mob of individuals that wanted to figure out why the Cleveland Browns were playing poorly, the main scapegoat, the main piece, the main blame, rightfully or wrongfully, was Deshaun Watson. He is the epicenter, the lightning rod for the emotion. Anything that went wrong, you could always revert back to Deshaun Watson. Anything rightfully or wrongfully that happened during the play, the offensive line might not have blocked, but you could always jump up and say, well, Deshaun Watson didn't get rid of the ball quick enough, rightfully or wrongfully. If the play didn't look too well, and you said, man, that's a dumb play, Kevin Stefanski, what was that scheme of design? You always could revert back and fall back onto, well, Deshaun Watson, is he really seeing the field well? And, when you are the quarterback, that's just what it is. That's part of it, right? That you got the ball in your hands and guys are looking at you. And plus, there's a lot of other things that they was piling on top of that, rightfully or wrongfully. But guess what? That chip is off the table. And I prophesied this, and I told you about this a long time ago. What happens when that chip is no longer on the table? What happens when Amari Cooper is no longer here to say, well, Amari Cooper, he needs to get his head out of you-know-what and catch the football? What happens when he's gone in Buffalo catching touchdowns? What happens when Kareem Hunt is no longer here and you jettison him out and he's in Kansas City? My man Darren Smith always hits me up and says, I thought Kareem Hunt had 3 wheels, G. Bush. Seems to be doing good out here in Andy Reid's playbook. What happens when you no longer can focus your attention on a person or one individual or one individual thing that you could put everything on? Well, now the spotlight is brightly shining on the leadership. Paul D. Podesta, Kevin Stefanski, Andrew Berry. Let the Game of Thrones begin. And for those that don't watch the Game of Thrones or don't know what the reference is, the Game of Thrones is just a reference to, one of the greatest shows of all time, except for like the last two seasons was kind of whack. But it shows the way of all these people trying to take power in a vacuum where there's a leadership void at the top. When everybody wants to take the mantle, wants to take the crown, and the levels and the tactics and the different things they're going to do to try to get the crown. Long live the king. The king's dead. I want to be the new king. So without Deshaun Watson there, and without Baker Mayfield being there, and without Odell Beckham Jr. being there, and without some of these other different tropes and Amari Cooper, and without Van Pelt and all these other different things, all the things we said was the reason it wasn't working. All those people are named as to why it was not working. All those are gone. They're off the table. Now we look at you, Kevin. You're between a rock and a hard place. We'll talk about it coming up a little bit later. We'll get to Andrew Berry first, but this thing's going to get ugly. And it's going to be ugly to a point where that lockstepness is not going to work. And let me explain it. See, Kevin Stefanski was hired before Andrew Berry. Yeah, they could sit here and say we Ivy League guys, we lockstep, we one band, one sound, one accord. It's not going to work that way no more, boys and girls. And let me tell you why. At 1-6, you're at a fork in the road. If you're Kevin Stefanski, you're tasked with winning football games. You think Myles Garrett and the rest of those dudes, they're already happy. Trust me, they have already upset that the fans was booing. Like, don't give them another reason to check out mentally. There's times during the season where guys wasn't even really playing hard, where it looked like they was already checked out. So your job is to come in there and motivate the people. You didn't do a very good job of it by starting DTR over Jameis Winston in a week where DTR again and inexplicably didn't know he was playing. That doesn't look good. See, you have to win football games and look competent the rest of the season, or people are going to start to say, maybe it was you that were the problem, Kevin. There's no Deshaun to fall back on. There's no random playbook. There's no restrictions. They won't let him take Deshaun out the game. That's off the table. They won't let Kevin revert back to his old playbook because Deshaun wants the shotgun. That's off the books. They won't all this stuff. We don't have Nick Chubb. Well, he's back. We had a bunch of injuries where your offensive line is everyone's there except for Wyatt Teller. Conklin's back. Wills is back. All of them. Juan Thornhill is back. Well, Amari Cooper is disgruntled. He's poisoning the well. No, he's gone. That's a tough thing to sell. Now it's on you. We're going to figure out whether it was you or was it Watson. You're going to have to play. You're going to have to win some ball games, and you're going to have to be competent doing it. But that's in direct, that flies in the face of everything that Andrew Berry's looking to do. You see, tanking and getting the first overall pick is much better for Andrew Berry than it is for Kevin Stefanski, because Kevin Stefanski can't survive a tank. You can't survive a tank. Like, you can't survive losing all of those games and winning one or two games. The players are checked out. Guys are saying, I don't even know if he's the right dude for the job. And it's always easier to get rid of the coach at the end of the year than it is to get rid of the general manager. Because the general manager has the scouting department. The general manager has all of the scouting news. Are you going to turn over the entire playbook, the scouting stuff, in the middle of the most important draft that you've had in 50 years, forget all the rest of that stuff. Forget that. Browns fans, you better you got to get on another page. All that other stuff that we talked about before and all that stuff, it's time for you to flip your mindset. It's time for you to flip the switch and understand we're at a different time. We was at a building time, and we was at a grind time, and we was at a time where we had a roster that we thought we was contending with. That is gone. You are now back to evaluation. And if you think that this draft is not the most important draft in your lifetime, you're mistaken. This is more important than 1999. Even in 99, when they missed on Tim Couch or they came back, they could afford to miss. They were a new organization, new Browns. The team, people in the city was happy they got their team back. Everybody is rocking and roll, ready to go. They could have been terrible for 5-6 years. Now, with this mess going on, with this fan base, and this is why there is nobody telling you this. Why are we mired in the muck, in the grime of what's going on with Boeing and Watson and do you think he's gonna the timetable of return? You guys are 6 months in the rear view mirror. We in the DeLorean time machine talking right now. Y'all better understand and get focused. This is the most important draft you've ever seen as a Cleveland Browns fan. We didn't came off the Odell Beckham wars. We didn't came off the Civil War. We went through 2 Civil Wars. The one with Baker, and we just still going through one, the tail end of one with Deshaun Watson. If you think you argue now, what about when you start arguing about what quarterback they should take first overall? This is why. You say what you want. I make this thing fun. I'm not going to lie to you, bro. They can't do it that way. I'm sorry. It's a lot of people that say they hate G. Bush. G. Bush, you be doing this. Man, listen. I make this thing fun, bro, because I'm giving you the future, right? I'm giving you that flow, the future. Y'all better be looking around. I don't know why y'all going arguing back and forth with them folks about the new quarterback is what we talking about. And think about this. We ain't even got to whether DTR is in that mix. What are you getting from DTR? Are you going to start him the rest of the season? If you start DTR, that means that favors the 1-something record. I'm going to tell you what. I'm going to be honest with you. To me, DTR ain't it. I'm just saying. To me, it ain't it. That ain't it. DTR, he does a lot of things that he got a great arm. I like his mobility. He be tossing himself up in the air, doing all kind of gymnastic flips. He turned the ball over a lot, and he can't stay healthy. And he's small. Come on now, we can't be. He's hurt every year. He don't even start. He been a 13 quarterback. He been hurt every year. He hurt again. Jameis Winston. Do you go the Jameis Winston route? Do you see if you can make him Geno Smith? Number 1 overall pick, first overall pick? I don't know. I don't know how the fan base feels about Jameis Winston. I don't know how the Browns view Jameis Winston. But to me, it was funny style that they just demoted him. Like, I'm like, bro, Jameis Winston gives you obviously the best chance to win football games. But we got to realize something. Whose best interest is it to win football games? Kevin Stefanski's or Andrew Berry's? I think tanking leads to Andrew Berry sticking around. I think winning football games may lead to Kevin Stefanski staying around. And let me just put this one to bed, by the way. You guys are smarter than this. And I just want to put an end to it. my brethren in the media, you guys are smarter than this. The reason I even put D Podesta, I put him on the thumbnail because we're going to talk about him right now. The reason why D Podesta is not even on the list and is not even close to getting replaced is this. You guys actually believe that you guys are going to get to the concierge? He's Lucky Luciano. Come on, man. This guy is the mob concierge. Like, this guy is the right-hand man. First and foremost, I find it very difficult to criticize or get a dude up out of here that they don't even give you his job title. You think that's by mistake? Bro, how you speak on, it's just like, let me see how crazy this sounds. Let me see how crazy this sounds. We in business, right? We in business. I got a company. I hire somebody as a consultant. But this dude, I didn't know him like my whole life, or that's my friend, but he ain't a consultant. Technically, he don't have nothing to do with the day-to-day business. Technically, he can't come in and just fire people. He has no job title. But technically, he's not going anywhere. If I hire 17 new dudes, I'm keeping him because that's my man. That's just what it's going to be. It's my business. I'm keeping my man, and he ain't got a title. You can make the title up for whatever you want to work it. He could be director of an analysis, and it's so foolhardy. Bro, like, this is crazy in this media game, man. I know that we got these microphones, and the microphones can build you up. Listen, let me tell you something. You know how hard it is to move a billionaire? Let me repeat that. There's a lot of people throwing rocks at Jimmy Haslam. It's a lot of people throwing rocks at Dan Gilbert. There's a lot of people that throw rocks at the Dolans. Let me just tell y'all something. Them minuscule words of whatever you got to say on the ground level is the most meaningless stuff in the world. Do you think that like it's a wolf crying, howling at the moon? The moon is fixed. We don't care what you got to say down there. And for you to be calling out D Podesta and you don't even know what he do, it makes you look crazy. I want D Podesta gone. Why you want him gone? He's just been around, and well, what does he do when he's around? Analytics. How do you know what he does in the analytics department? Well, I don't know. They won't tell us, but we need to know. Yes. Y'all people is nuts. You think these are billionaires? You think billionaires get to be billionaires by listening to regular stuff? Listen, D Podesta is going to hang out as long as Jimmy say he's going to hang out. And you're going to be cool with it. You're grabbing at straws. He's not going nowhere, bro. What are you talking about? That's like, what do you mean? Like, people get money. You know what? The best thing of what people tell you when they get rich and money, they tell themselves all the time. You know why? What the great part about having a lot of money is for most of the people, 98% of the population, you can go tell them to screw themselves. You know, your boss the boss wants you to come in at 9:30. No, I ain't doing that. Screw yourself. Hey, you want to hang out? Listen, the people telling you I'm gonna fine you $40. Who cares? Screw yourself. I got $1 million. Do you think these people is running around here being like, you know what? We're getting a lot of pushback from D Podesta. Public sentiment is going crazy on this. We might have to have a talk with. He can't make this up. My media brethren, you guys are too cute. I need to talk to Jimmy Haslam. Man, you better stop messing with that, man. These dudes got secret police everywhere, bro. They come up, got your phone tapped. People follow you from the crib. I'm just playing. I just joking. Nobody's following anybody, G-Bush. With that being said, let's get to this. When we come back, we talked about Kevin Stefanski. We talked about Andrew Berry. Let's come back and talk about the case for Andrew Berry. And if he's sitting in front of Jimmy Haslam, this is what I'm telling him. We'll come back and talk about it all next, right here on the Ultimate Browns. Well, baseball season may be over, but the Ultimate Guardians continue to roll on. Adam the Bull, Zach Meisel, you want to keep in contact with them for all of the offseason moves. Winter meetings will be coming up. The Guardians need a couple bats. They always seem to need a couple of bats. But they need them. Adam the Bull and Zach Meisel will tell you who you need to be watching, who you need to be looking for, and we'll keep that in contact on everything's Guardians right here on the UCSS network. Speaking of, we move from baseball to basketball. We need that. Lord knows we need it because the Browns ain't doing much. Ultimate Cavaliers, Jason Lloyd, Mikey McNuggets, they will keep you locked on everything. Cavaliers is tipping off next week. I can't believe it's that quick. Next week, make sure you check out Ultimate Cavaliers for everything Cavaliers and subscribe to the UCSS network so you don't miss any of our latest uploads. Welcome back to the fastest 30 minutes in all of sports. Actually, this is a little longer. I don't even think it's 30. It's been longer than 30. But, I give you some bonus credit, bonus extra spots here on the Ultimate Browns. We talked about it earlier. We got to a situation where, look, Deshaun Watson, unfortunately, is out. What's next? What's the next domino to fall? We saw DTR in this game. Did not look very well. Did not look good. Didn't play very well. Excuse me, you should say that. Didn't play very well. And some of the same things that battled, some of the things that really held you back offensively, you still saw. You still saw the meme that went viral. Go check it out on at GBush91 on Twitter. Jed Wills just turning around. Which way did he go? Which way did he go? You still got that stuff. You still got Jerry Jeudy upset he's not getting targets. You still got a playbook that looks like it lacks any explosiveness. And you still got the end up result with the Browns lose. So through the rest of the year, there's guys that are going to be auditioning for their position. And hypothetically, if you're Andrew Berry and you're going into the office with Mr. Haslam, and you want to make the case why I should be the guy moving forward and why I am the GM for this organization to get us through this point. Because, by the way, you're looking at a guy. See, when you got to have a general, there's a difference between being a wartime general and a peacetime guy, right? It's different mindsets. Right now, we need to be on the field. Now it's about building. Now it's about, okay, I need to switch my mindset, not to get guys and prepare them for today. We need to start identifying guys that are going to carry us in the future. So it's kind of difficult to kind of jump back and forth. But if you Andrew Berry, you're going to have to, you come in and you say, look at this, Jimmy. Let me be honest with you. The one thing that my front office has shown is the previous regime, they drafted Baker Mayfield. When we got here, Baker was already here. It became evident through our meetings with each other, through our analytics department, through our scouting department, that we did not feel Baker Mayfield was going to be the quarterback of the future moving forward. But what we were able to do was we were able to pivot. We were able to pivot. We were able to move money around. We were able to sign some of our key players that were still in their prime, and we still were able to go out and identify a stopgap measure as it may. Now, Deshaun Watson was a group decision. Everybody in the organization thought that was the move we should do, and the best available decision at the time. Not only did our scouting department say that, but Atlanta, New Orleans, Miami, multiple other teams felt the same way we did about Deshaun Watson. We had unforeseen situations. We didn't bank on the 11-game suspension. We didn't bank on the fact that he would have that season-ending shoulder injury, and we didn't bank on the fact that he would have the season-ending Achilles heel surgery. With that being said, that kind of derailed what we were doing. However, what we were able to do, because of our cap situation and because we were able to manipulate the cap, we were still able to field a team and field a competitive team, and we still were able to, without those draft picks that we gave up, still amass a roster where we were still able to go to playoffs a year which we had 5 quarterbacks starting, and that's a testament to the depth and the guys that we did pick off the street. If you want to give credit for something, we were the guys. We had a multitude of guys that are in. We had DTR, we had PJ Walker, we had a lot of those guys, but it was us who went out and got Joe Flacco. We went out and got Joe Flacco and brought him in that got us to the playoffs. So that was something that we did as well. Another thing, you want to talk about some of the guys that we didn't hit on, but we will talk about the guys that we did hit on. Let's talk about the simple fact that, Martin Emerson, he had a down year this year, but he was a steal out of the 3rd or 4th round. We gave you JLK, who's an elite linebacker right now. He's a guy that is going to be on the books, right? And we got him and we signed him to a long-term contract. We signed Grant Delpit to a long-term deal. We feel like he's safety of the future moving forward. We talked about those guys, and we've done a good job. And Jerome Ford is a guy who stepped in, was unexpected from Nick Chubb. And, so these are all guys that we've signed, that we've allocated. We get our 1st-round draft picks back, and now we know what we need to do. We know what we need to do. I was able to make the move for Amari Cooper. We got a third round pick from that. We only paid a 5th for it, right? So we got extra compensation from that. So we have a number of holes that we do have on our team, but we have a lot of guys with the continuity of the people that we got. The most important position is quarterback. We're putting all our resources towards quarterback. And I think that it's best that when we get a quarterback this time, we need a quarterback that fits into what people are doing now. And Jimmy, you're a guy, you're down in Tennessee. You see the way they throw the ball down there in the SEC. Even Alabama, a ground and pound team with Jalen Milroe is throwing the football. That's the new way to go. I know it didn't necessarily work with Deshaun Watson because we were trying to marry 2 different philosophies. And Kevin's philosophy was great for what Kevin did. But, I mean, we're looking at an opportunity to start fresh, to make your imprint. And what better way to come into that stadium with a young quarterback throwing the ball all over an indoor facility. That's right, indoor facility. That's already in the works. And guess what? We can get the coach, we can get the coordinator, and we can get the people around that when we step foot in Brook Park, boy, I tell you, we're going to have one of the best passing games and an advantage that we have not seen here, and we're going to be electrical on the turf. We just need the opportunity to be here to make that choice. That was convincing. You appeal to Jimmy's, want of the passing game. It's been evident Jimmy wants to pass that football, right? It's been evident. It's evident that he's going to have the stadium. And what new way to come into a new stadium than with a young, athletic, shiny new quarterback to sell all them jerseys? Or you can keep Kevin Stefanski and run ground and pound. Which do you think Jimmy's going to want to run? That was my case for Andrew Berry. Did you like it? Was it something that you think Jimmy Haslam would have ear to? Let me know in the comment section below. Coming up next, we get to Kevin Stefanski. Now, Andrew Berry got to make his case. Now it's time for Kevin Stefanski. We'll come back and talk about it. It's right here on the Ultimate Browns. We mentioned Ultimate Cavaliers, Ultimate Guardians. We don't want to miss my man Earl the Pearl, Ultimate 216, mix of sports and culture. You can find that right here on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show Network. Make sure you hit Earl the Pearl up. Make sure you find him and make sure you watch each and every episodes as they drop weekly. And of course, it's the big homie, the big dog, G. Bush, the biggest in the world. You know what they're saying, in the Brown sphere. If you want the real, if you want the story behind the story, you watch Ultimate Browns. Subscribe to get the notifications. We do 2 episodes a week. We also drop clips throughout the week. So continue to support Ultimate Browns as we continue to drop the best Ultimate Browns and the best Browns content on the internet. Welcome back to the fastest 30 minutes in all of sports. It's your boy G Bush right here on the UCSS network. We talking about the end game. We talking about what comes next. We talked about Andrew Berry and his selling points and his pitch to Jimmy Haslam. But now we get to Kevin Stefanski. Kevin Stefanski is now in the meeting room with Jimmy Haslam, 2-time coach of the year. I've shown that I've been able to collaborate and work with a multitude of different people. I've been flexible. I've shown that I've been able to run a vertical passing game. I've shown that I had the ability to work with a running game. During the time period, we did everything that we could do to get Deshaun Watson comfortable. That means switching offensive coordinators. Me and Alex Van Pelt, we came into this thing together. He was part of the offense that we ran, but we did exactly what you told us to do. You did exactly what the organization thought was best, and that was going to a vertical passing attack with Deshaun Watson. Obviously, that didn't work with Deshaun, and I think mostly not because of us not trying. It's just the injuries, injury to the shoulder, injury to the Achilles heel. Unfortunately, the player that we were going after a couple of years ago is not the player that we have right now. And so one of the things that I've shown, though, is not only can I work with a guy like Deshaun Watson, but I've shown the propensity to be able to work with guys that are lesser talented guys than Deshaun Watson, the Case Keenums, the Flaccos who was accelerated age. I've even had Baker's Mayfield's previous to what he's doing now, his best years, right? And even with Baker, I think we laid a lot of those foundations that Baker is now reaping some of the benefits of, right? Some of those foundational things that we taught here in Cleveland in 2020. Throughout his career here are some of the things that when you watch Baker Mayfield on tape, you can see the foundations and the seeds of what we planted. In terms of our offense and in terms of the way things went, I just think that if you look at it from a standpoint of me being a person that's taken what's given to me, things have been a little rough. You take a look at some of the durability issues that we've had with some of the guys that were here. The offensive line. I think the offensive line got old right in front of our eyes. I mean, when we talk about renegotiating these contracts, you look at the number of guys. Jack Conklin, old right in front of your face. Joe Bitonio, old right in front of your face. You get Wyatt Teller, who's been injured the last 3 or 4 years. He's still a good player, but his body's breaking down on him. We got a year out of Ethan Poachers, right? It looked like he was going to be a guy after we signed him. He kind of regressed. And then Jed Wills, I think that was one of our biggest things. Go back and look at it. When you have a Jed Wills at left tackle, he's been inconsistent. And there were guys on the board like Tristan Wirfs that, the scouting department basically missed on. He's an all-pro, and we got a guy who now is one of, the bottom tackles, the starting caliber tackle in the league. I also believe that when you take a look at it, you lose your best player, Nick Chubb. So we've been playing without any explosive playmakers on offense. I mean, we got the most we could out of Amari Cooper, right? You take a look at the trades we made. Elijah Moore wasn't the impact speed guy that we thought we were getting. Jerry Jeudy is a younger Amari Cooper, which doesn't mean that means much for our vertical passing game. And then when we're running a vertical passing game without vertical threats, I mean, how dangerous can you be? I think that one of the things that we need to look at and understand here is this. When you're drafting a quarterback, one of the things that you had to understand is, do you want to bring in another guy that's fresh, that's young? You want to bring in an offensive-minded head coach? Can you tell me more of an offensive-minded head coach that's more decorated than me? Can you tell an offensive-minded offensive coordinator that has worked with more quarterbacks than I have? I've seen them all shape, sizes, and everything, whether they're mobile, non-mobile, shorter, taller, big arms, smaller arms, game managers. I've seen them all in between. And one thing that I've yet to be able to do here is this. I've yet been able to sit back, evaluate, and find a quarterback that I feel fits my system that has elite dynamic talent. I've always done well with less. But can you imagine what I'm able to do with this system, with retooling what we do, with a quarterback that can read and react, and a quarterback that can run the play action with a big arm, that's younger, that's more, that doesn't have any off the field issues, no baggage, and we can grow together. I've always been in forced marriages. Let's get somebody that we can grow together, that me and this new quarterback have a shared way of thinking about things and one shared vision. I think that's what we need to get to. And then we build around the quarterback. Before, we haven't done that so much in the last few years. We haven't built around the quarterback. Let's get our guy, build everything around him, and then take that guy into that new dome. And the people want to change. The people want a fresh change, right? They want a new taste. They want a new taste in their mouth, right? We need to get this. We need to get everybody on one accord, and maybe there needs to be a new, I don't know, new approach when you're looking at it from a GM's eyes. Maybe we need a new scouting concept. I haven't been excited about the explosiveness at our skill positions. On defense, I know Jim Schwartz would love to have some corners that can move a little better. I know he wouldn't want to find another explosive end off the edge to go with Myles Garrett. I know we would love to get to. I know I would love 2 or 3 more receivers to get vertical. And just because you got tight ends don't mean those tight ends can't get vertical. What about another guy that can move like David Njoku? And I'm telling you this, I'm not selling you on a major rebuild. I'm selling you on a mini build. Bear with me, Jimmy. I'm selling you on a mini build. What we can do what the Texans did. Quarterbacks are coming out now more ready than ever. You look at what they're doing with C.J. Stroud. You look at what you do with Jaden Daniels. This could be a mini rebuild. We retool here or there. We get somebody in here that can evaluate the top-notch draft, picks coming out of college. And I'm gonna tell you what, it's not a 5, 6, 7 year thing. This can be a 2 to 3 year thing. Trust me. Now he break it down like that. I like what he said at the end, though. That mini build, that 2 to 3 on the run, you get your quarterback, then you build around it. I like the fact that he said, I didn't want a quarterback in lockstep. Somebody that I can believe in, he believe in me, and we move to the future with this thing. I've been with these arranged marriages. My playbook works. The playbook has shown dividends. Either way, I think it's a compelling conversation. Do you think Jimmy Haslam would take that? What do you think about that? Do you think who has the better case? Andrew Berry, Kevin Stefanski? You let me know. These are the type of things that you got to go through. These are the things that we're going to be thinking about as a Browns fan base moving forward, because these things are all in play. While everybody else is telling you the season is over, turn it off, don't worry about it. Actually, this is what you're supposed to be watching, because this is going to tell you your future. Change the way you're thinking. It's not about none of that no more. You got to flip the switch. You are now in evaluation mode. If you're a good, solid Browns fan, you're supposed to be thinking, I'm evaluating the talent coming out of college. Y'all better, hey, we didn't even talk draft in this city for years. You better get back on it. You better, hey, who you want at the top of the draft, you better be looking at these blogs. You also need to be talking and evaluating your general manager and your head football coach every single week. And that's the important part of this Brown season moving forward. With that being said, the most important part of the Cleveland Browns on the internet is the Ultimate Browns and G. Bush. Make sure you follow. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you like. You never know when G. Bush is going to show up. I can be on radio, TV, or on internet. But if you want the fresh cut, the fresh take on sports, the barbershop is where to be. And I always keep the Clippers. Have a great evening, day, wherever you at, and go Browns.